Start. All right, so we'll be talking about our stories of COVID-19, and starting us off with an introduction is Ryan Robards.
So for our presentation, we're going to go over the impacts of COVID-19 just on the local community. We're going to go into aspects of the ethical considerations in regards to what to do with the local economy. Then we're going to touch on the impacts it has on mental health and stress, those social implications that lead from that. We're going to also get into the large-scale, long-term global effects this has had, as it's really affected everyone worldwide. Then we're going to touch on the school system and how closing and what's really going on and how it might affect the future of that. We're going to touch on the technology and what's been building and how a lot of money have been spent to try to figure this out. Then the ethical considerations linked to developing this and doing all these tests that may not be considered right.
All right, so to start off, I'll be talking about how COVID has affected our local economy. For those of you that are familiar with SLO, our economy is a little bit different because we totally thrive on tourism and our college students. So not only are the businesses in SLO focused on our students, but also businesses in like Morro Bay or Avila Beach, they're super focused on tourism. And so when COVID-19 hit, both of these markets disappeared suddenly. And so that really hit our small and family-owned businesses a lot harder than it would a mega chain like Target, Walmart, or Costco. So to speak a little bit of my own personal experience, I've been working with a Cal Poly startup for about a year, and we provide free marketing and exposure for any local business that's open during the outbreak. And we offer free advertising on our app. And so I've been lucky to have a lot of contact with these local business owners and hear what they're going through. Many of our non-essential businesses have been shut down for upwards of 2 months. Some of them are able to adapt, but others have like completely shut down. Essential businesses, on the other hand, were modified to fit the needs of COVID. We have those social distancing screens, patios have been shut down, and many places are transitioning to curbside pickup and delivery. Along with that consideration, we're also seeing the increasing cost of delivery services such as Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or even developing your own app for a restaurant, which totally cuts into the profits of our local and family-owned businesses. And many of these places are not running a profit or are running at a reduced profit. So those delivery apps also take a big part of that. Some places will also close their doors forever, and we may never see them again. So some ethical considerations to think about with our local economy is, number one, safety versus economic gain. Is it better to have a business running that provides stable income for a business owner and their employees and has everybody have a job? Or is it not worth having everyone at an increased risk of infection and transmission to anyone that's nearby? We also have to look at the short-term versus long-term ethical considerations. Is closing down for 2 to 3 months worth risking your livelihood? Or is staying open during the outbreak worth risking the lives of your employees and your customers? Our final decision as a group as far as the ethical considerations with this is, though potentially risky, many businesses made the correct decision to remain open with modified hours and social distancing constraints in order to keep our local economy afloat.
Next, I'm going to go into the effects that COVID-19 has had on people's mental health and increasing their stress levels. So going along with stress, according to mental health provider Ginger, they did a study where 88% of workers reported experiencing moderate to extreme stress over the past 4 to 6 weeks. This 4 to 6 weeks is the time where they were in lockdown and then they had to subsequently apply for unemployment. So very stressful times. So as a cause to this, we can tell that people are having a negative effect mentally. So going into mental health, during the month of March alone, prescriptions filled per week for antidepressant, anti-anxiety, and anti-insomnia medications increased by 21%. And 78% of all three of those prescriptions above for the month of March were for new prescriptions, 78%. And this next slide is just a nice graphic for you to show that the level of stress since the coronavirus outbreak has actually gone higher, reported higher stress levels, just to really emphasize that, by 66.9%.
In terms of social implications, there's been a lot of issues with mental health. How we're affected mentally is something that governments did not initially consider. All over the world, people reported rates of loneliness, depression, anxiety higher than ever before. People have been also forced to live sedentary lifestyles, and coronavirus has forced us to stay inside and lounge around. These sedentary lifestyles led to anxiety, cardiovascular disease, cancers, depression, diabetes, and many other symptoms. In terms of looking forward, the future for now is looking more clear than a month ago, but it's still uncertain for what new implications society will have forced upon dealing with illness and the spread of one so contagious. Next. In terms of economically, global growth effects. So estimates so far indicate the virus could trim global economic growth by as much as 2% per month if the current conditions persist, which means the global economy sits around $86 trillion, and this is roughly $1.7 trillion each and every month that this virus continues. As global trade goes, it could fall by 13 to 32%, depending on the depth and extent of the global economic downturn. Government enforcement has also been big. So we are coming to the tail end of the coronavirus. Government agencies enforce many laws such as stay-at-home orders, government lockdowns, curfews, and shutdown of non-essential services. The lockdown, this has been the most crucial part of the whole process, specifically remaining in your homes for as long as we can in order to curb the spread of the virus. As many other countries and states have around the world, they have enforced similar rules, although its timing has been different for almost every location. In terms of healthcare, we've had a lot of overwhelmed systems. The global healthcare systems have likely been hit the hardest of all. The strain many hospitals took on when the virus was at its peak led to many patients getting turned away if they weren't sick enough or if their condition wasn't severe enough for treatment. Last but not least, profits versus effectiveness. Healthcare systems have been slowly changing more and more towards for-profit enterprise system over the years. And for years, the U.S. healthcare system, as well as many others, have strained, and we now see the effects of when faced with such a global epidemic.
But next, I'm going to talk about school effects. As you know, we're college students, so this directly affects us. This has a lot to do with our mindset. Maybe we're not feeling the same as what we would have to in a class setting. We don't have that same sort of interaction with the teacher and as well as other students. We kind of have that aspect of not feeling the same sort of attention span, maybe not as motivated to do the work or studying for the test. So as a personal, this does affect me, as long as I know a lot of my teammates are really affected by it. Just having that sort of sense of urgency to like learn and kind of do the homework. So this has a really direct effect on us. Moving on to technology shifts, Zoom has been our biggest outlet as of so far, over 200 million downloads from March to April. This has been one of our greatest assets, allowing connection between people that otherwise we wouldn't have, being that we're stuck inside of our homes. We're not really allowed to go out as much as we'd like to. So having this sort of asset has been great for us to go to class, have our meetings, and sort of still try to keep pace with what we're trying to achieve in our own lives without having too much of a setback.
So I'm going to be talking about the ethics of technology use during COVID-19. Even though technology has been very useful to everyone during this time, there are still some major drawbacks associated with it. The first problem with technology is that students are not putting as much effort into school as they were when they had in-person classes. I've heard from a multitude of students that they are failing at least one or more classes at this time, since it is harder to stay motivated. Another problem that is currently high is cheating. Right now, because no one is watching or holding the students accountable except for himself. And lastly, in these past couple of months, there has been more breaches of security due to hacking than at any other time.
All right, so in conclusion, COVID-19 has affected each of us in unique ways, but there are various experiences that we have all shared, and we've tried to cover that today while also talking about our own lives. We've discussed local economic impacts and the ethical considerations with that, the mental health and increased stress of COVID-19, as well as the social implications, global impacts, effects on our schools, and the shifts in technology and ethical considerations associated with that technology. Thank you very much for this awesome opportunity to share our story.
Wow.